Research shows that a high percentage of young black males are not proficient in reading. My next guest is a former school administrator and teacher who's passionate about literacy and school leadership. She works with educators, parents, and community members to improve reading among African American students. Dr. Shelley McIntosh's new book is titled A Principal's Tale: Life in 31 Days. It describes in vivid detail her experiences as an elementary school principal. Dr. McIntosh is going to lead a presentation on urban school administration at the Charles H. Wright Museum on July 13th. I'm really pleased to have Dr. Shelley McIntosh here with us on the program.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations on the new book.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so tell us about life in 31 days. What does that mean?
This is exactly what it means. As a school administrator, we are labeled or given the topic or job responsibility as instructional leader, and then as manager, which is quite a lot.
Yes.
And there are different layers of accountability. So one day my administrative assistant and I said, let's look at everything that I do as a principal. And so it's being accountable to the federal government, to the state government for funding. It's being accountable to the superintendent, to the university that authorizes the school, to the director of curriculum instruction and assessment, just many layers of accountability.
Yeah.
And so I said, I want to tell my story of how the life of an urban school principal actually looks. And I was in CVS one day, and I looked over and saw this book that said, to tame your tongue in 30 days. So I said, that's an idea. Let me write about my life in 31 days.
Yeah.
And so I had a journal at home and a journal at school.
Yeah.
And so I recorded everything that I did from sunup to sundown.
And it's an incredible regimen. I mean, when you think about all of the things that that you're asked to do in this role, talk about the things that we're doing right for school educators and school leaders, and the things that we're not quite getting right.
Okay, the things that we may be getting right is some support for teachers, which could be still a great deal of more support.
We do a lot more, sure.
To do a lot more for teachers. Some of the things that really are challenging now and that need special attention is first the literacy situation. So Michigan is ranked at the bottom with a few other states.
Sure.
And also the lowest to teach African American boys how to read, and the second lowest in teaching Caucasian boys how to read. So my question is, why and how did this happen? So
because we didn't used to be at the bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the late 70s, there was really no gap between African American children's literacy and Caucasians. But whole language approach is what became prominent in teaching reading. So in the late 70s, it was changed.
From phonics to whole language.
From phonemic awareness, phonics, blending, to whole language. So whole language is based on the premise that a student can just see a word and remember it forever, but that's not true. So when it changed over, California was one of the states that accepted it the first, the biggest purchaser of textbooks, and it spread. Also in teacher education programs, because I was an assistant professor in the teacher education program, their philosophy was whole language. And so as a result, we produced teachers who didn't have that basic phonemic awareness, phonics, blending type of instruction to effectively teach reading.
Yeah.
So since we have the Michigan law now, which I think is a burden on administrators, that third grade law says that if a student tests 2 grades below, they will be retained
They're going to have
in the
to
third
stay
grade.
in the 3rd grade, right?
So that is a punishment for the child when really reading instruction should have been examined, because all students can learn how to read.
Right.
And I taught children to read before they went to kindergarten, using a direct instruction approach. And if that was used within the schools today, there would be no literacy problem. So that is one, I think, major challenge facing urban school administrators.
Yeah. A lot of people who don't spend time in urban schools, I think, have a lot of misconceptions about what goes on in urban schools and what some of the challenges are. But one of the things I think people who do spend a lot of time in those schools, like you have, one of the things they learn is about the kids in those schools and how desperately they want good instruction, how desperately they expect good instruction, and how disappointed they become when we don't provide that to them.
There is a need to be competent, which is an intrinsic motivator. Mm-hmm. And so when a student is in a classroom and a teacher places a textbook in front of him or an assignment that they can't read, they feel that they're not competent. Mm-hmm. So they have different ways of acting or showing their despair. And one is to act out, meaning to get loud in the classroom, mm-hmm. or to be defiant with the teacher. Some will become introverted and not say anything at all, but they are upset and angry mm-hmm. that they can't do this, and basically, why haven't you all taught me to do this? Yeah. So I've seen different children's behaviors, and as an administrator and teachers, we would have to look at their behaviors and listen to them. When students say, I need help, that's exactly what they're saying. I need help, so please help me to be competent with this. Help me to read.
Yeah, yeah. Who do you imagine you will influence with this book, or who do you hope to influence with the book?
I would like to influence everyone in the field of education, especially
from top to bottom,
from
right?
top to bottom, especially urban school administrators mm-hmm. and those aspiring administrators, teachers, and then even for parents to see what a principal's life is. Yeah. Because if we can share that story and bridge that gap, I think there would be more of a continuity and more of a collaboration mm-hmm. and more of a community between school and parents.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, congratulations on the book and your life of work in this field. There's a lot of work still to do, it feels like. Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.